the bottom of it with your host, Joshua Moriarty.
Hey, how you doing out there, everybody? Welcome back to the bottom of it with me, your host, Joshua Moriarty. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for tuning in. What's been going on in Joshua Moriarty land? Let me have a think. My Mihara was just in Singapore, had a show there for a small music festival. What a remarkable city Singapore is. I'm not sure if you've been there. You should go and check it out. Wow, it was it was fantastic. We had an amazing day. We hired scooters. We went around those beautiful gardens in the city. What a very special way to spend a Sunday afternoon, the day after a rock concert. It was amazing. We loved it. Thank you, Singapore. Thank you, the people there. What else? I put out the music video for my Joshua Moriarty single, RTFL. You can check that out. YouTube. I don't even think I put it anywhere else. Where else would you watch a music video? Does anyone even watch music videos anymore? You just watch lyric videos. I haven't made a lyric video, sorry, but maybe I can find a young person to do that for me. I think that's the sort of thing that young people do. All right, enough chit chat. Today's episode is with Alain Johannes. This guy is an absolute star, in my opinion. I think he's incredible. He's one of my favorite guitar players of all time. I personally think that I am one of the greatest guitar players of all time, but I will admit that Alain Johannes is better than me, and that's for the people who know me. For me to say that, I will say it. I reckon he could take me out in a fight. I wouldn't want to challenge him. The man knows his way around a guitar, that's for sure. He was in a band called 11 with his wife Natasha Schneider, who sadly passed away in 2008. It's a great band, 11. Then they were also, from that, they ended up in Queens of the Stone Age for a while. You might have seen the two of them if you've watched any Queens of the Stone Age live stuff around the Lullabies to Paralyze era. And then he was in Them Crooked Vultures alongside Josh Homme and John Paul Jones. What else has he done? Jeez, he's all over the place. He's playing with PJ Harvey at the moment. He's an incredible musician, incredible guitar player. He's got a wonderful voice. He's got 2 solo records out. I love them both. Alain Johannes, he's incredible. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy it.
Oh, I like this. This feels very official. We should get some lights on our sensor.
It's definitely not that official at all.
No, I know. It's cool. Test 1, 2.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
We're good.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Because it's funny with me and the way that I play. It's a lot to do with my fingers and stuff. So I don't really have to have the best gear, and I've kind of proven this when during this 11 record I used a Line 6 Veda amp and modeled a bunch of PT40 whatever.
When was that? What year was that?
Oh, that was Howling Book came out in 2003.
2003, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone thought I was using some because I had the cool amps. It was almost in a way to say like. You don't need it. I mean, it's great to have. I love them all. It's just like everything is, it's a tool, so it doesn't matter.
Well, it's kind of in your fingers, and then it's kind of in your ears as well.
Well, that's where it's first, isn't it? You have to hear it in your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
And I learned that because I started so early. I was like 4 years old, so
when you started playing.
Yeah.
Your parents are musicians. Your father's a musician.
Yeah, my father, my mother, my uncles.
Yeah.
Especially my Uncle Peter, he was a multi-instrumentalist, but they were more entertainers, so they really, which is one thing that I didn't get genetically. I'm not really sure how to like, hey.
Do you do much of that? You play shows by yourself, don't you?
I do. I just played one at the Redwood Bar, and
do you do much chit-chatting in between?
I did that on Wednesday. I don't know, just sometimes I'm in the mood, but more and more because it's such a really weird thing to sit here with a cigar box guitar and just play these really sad songs, a lot of them.
They are very sad songs.
I almost need to have I don't know, it's not conscious.
You got to make a little bit light of it in between.
Yes. Because you're or during. I mean, exactly.
Yeah, because you don't feel that all the time. You feel it certain times, but...
Well, what happens is that to invoke the song, to grab it from where it came from, I need to inhabit that space. So
you do that every time you perform.
Well, every time I play the song, you can't casually play like Spider or some of those.
No, I don't think you.
Believe me, no, not that I've tried, but it's impossible. It's like that's the whole thing of it. So I think a little bit of the more recent repartee has come from just trying to reset in between songs or something.
Yeah.
And also like that, I don't know if it's the fourth wall thing, it was just or third wall, what the fuck is the term? Second one, no, third, fourth wall? You know, when
there's a wall.
There's a wall, and in a movie, and then when suddenly directly addresses the audience, you're breaking that wall.
The fourth wall.
Fourth, that's
it would have to be the fourth
wall,
wouldn't
yeah,
it?
Exactly, yeah. How many walls are there? I mean, I wonder what the fifth wall is.
There's only walls in your mind, Alan.
Oh, that's right. But I guess a fifth wall would, 1, 2, 3, yeah, would be the, I guess the ceiling is not a wall and the floor is not a wall, so maybe we're talking like more dimensions. Like,
do you have any musical walls? Is there anything that gets in your way? What blocks you?
What blocks me? Well, sometimes it has to do with, it's never mental. I've gotten to the point where I can pretty much be still and then I kind of, like with my Instagram posts, I literally just...
You're on Instagram?
Yeah,
I didn't know.
yeah. Oh my God, the Fragments and Wholes came from improvs. Every song is an improvisation.
Yes.
And so in the morning I would get up and pick one and then kind of arrangement in my mind and start recording it, and as I was writing the lyrics and the melodies, and then it'd be finished before dinner, recording wise, and then I'd go have dinner and then mix it into the next song the next day. So that's kind of how I did that record. But it's just in other words, like, let's grab a glass of wine, go outside, like either here or before at 11 AD,
sure.
Press record on the 8mm video app, and then just start playing, and then within pretty much immediately or 30 seconds, something starts to appear, and then I just grab the bit that is the appearance of...
Yes.
And then I save it for later, and then it becomes a song.
Have you ever struggled to tap into that place, or it's always...
It's less and less throughout, Natasha and I used to spend a lot of time not doing music in between, because we didn't like, we wanted it, to be, from the grabbing of the transmission to manifesting the finished thing where we have to let it go into the world. We wanted that to be as quick as possible, and it was usually around the time that we would get a record deal, and get it's supposed to go in the studio, and we would kind of...
So you didn't have songs in the backlog, you waited until it was time to do it, and then you grabbed whatever ones were in space at that moment.
Exactly, and usually we would have to kind of fib saying that we were ready, and
well,
maybe play them one thing. Yeah, we were ready, but we did, so a couple of times we did a couple very short, or did one to make sure that they weren't nervous,
But this is pre the ability to record easily as well. It's not like it is now where you can... Although you probably had a studio then, didn't you?
Yeah. I've always kind of had a studio where there was a 4-track when I was a kid, to later Natasha had a 2-inch 16-track and a board, and that was, just like, that's where you learn how to just not play perfectly, but play with enough vibe that if it's not perfect, it's still music,
Yeah.
That was the great thing about analog. So everyone understood, and so that the whole red light fever thing never really happened, because he's just like, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to feel like something. And because somebody that enjoys music doesn't they react more to lack of vibe than they do to like wrong chords or wrong notes or things being off, and that's one of the things that's very sad about a lot of the modern production techniques, which is the tuning and the slicing and dicing, is because you're essentially saying, well, humans aren't perfect, but in terms of creativity, they're perfect. In terms of art, it's perfect. So so there's a flam here and the thing there, and this, and then the singers start to get homogenized, and some incredible singers get auto-tuned. Maybe even they think it's what it's supposed to be, but you kind of lose what your voice is a little bit.
I agree. Yeah, of course.
Once you use it as an effect, like in the Fifth Element, for example. That fantastic 9-octave range. No, there's no such thing as 9 octaves, is there? At least not to human hearing. It's like and it's not. But anyway, getting back to it, I think for me, it's sometimes now getting older, there's aches and pains appear,
in your body.
I've got a neck thing at the moment, and sometimes it causes the nerve channels to block, and so I get like numb hands. And playing with numb hands is kind of a bummer. So that's what I just try to keep that. It's issues like, stop gluten and
Start taking care of yourself.
Start taking care of myself.
Have you been taking care of yourself?
Well, I'm trying. I've never been one for self-abuse, except I do like to drink wine.
Okay. And you roll with some guys who do like to.
Yes, I do roll with some guys. I'm usually the straight man in the room. Not only do I deliver setup lines, but I also don't do drugs. But yeah. I mean, I guess Advil is a drug every once in a while. But it's fine. It's fine. It's just something that is there, and I just have to learn to manage it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you spend much of your life thinking that you're invincible, and then it's just this turning point. I've noticed that even just since I'm 34 now. It was when I turned 30.
Right.
Just in those last few years, aches and pains appearing. Just small ones, nothing too serious, but. I try and do yoga in the morning for 10 minutes.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, just little things. Otherwise, if I don't, I feel so shitty.
Yeah. I mean, I feel better after swimming. I feel better after walking.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like I prepared my whole life so that I can still manage to play a show with numbness in my hands. It's just not pleasant, because then it's like something's tugging at you when you're trying to be in the moment.
Yes.
And you're being reminded of space-time continuum constantly, and you're struggling to be in the eternal now, whatever that is. Yeah, it's a bit of a rub, but yeah. So it's just I feel like really connected. I think a lot to do with the intensity of what's happened, with Natasha passing, and then my mom and dad 3 weeks from each other, and then my uncle, who was my mentor, had a really rough one too. He passed away. He got ALS.
That's a lot.
And I mean, it's just it happens, and people, but it just kind of like really ingrained, like a daily kind of hum through my life, where it's like be thankful for everything, don't waste any time. And I don't mean, like just to be stressed about like getting things done, but just try to hang around people that are really awesome, and
of course,
and enjoy all the things. And I've been very blessed, on tour with the PJ Harvey band, this incredible group of people. We've become really close friends, and I get to work with Lanigan, and I just worked with Dead Combo, and then Edith Crash and Blackbird Days, and I get lucky because people just seek me out. It's not like
well, you've got the magic, Alan.
Yeah, I don't know if I got what I have.
I've seen the way your fingers wiggle.
Well, I'm just sensitive to. I've always been kind of empathic in the sense, like, if I'm part of a production of an album, I always sense what is needed and not more. I don't have like a sound or a vibe or a thing, except just to be assistive in the atmosphere. So with some bands, they kind of need or want some assistance in arrangements, and maybe if you have an idea of how this could be better, or maybe something they didn't think about, or sonically, whatever, then I'm there for that. And then in some cases, it's just making sure that they have their little microcosm within the environment to just feel creative and be supportive for that. So, down to like, writing arrangements for something, if it's just more of a closed thing where I perform almost like the, multiplayer band role.
Yeah, yes. Oh, yeah, I mean.
That's why you have all those instruments, just in case someone wants a kazoo in the bridge.
Well, yeah, listening to Euphoria Morning, that's a prime example. Was the drummer from 11 playing on that as well? Was it just
yeah.
Was it Josh Freese?
Josh is on there.
Yeah.
Bill Rieflin's on Steel Rain. Okay. Victor Andrizo is on Wave Goodbye.
Yes.
Greg is on Flutter Girl. Matt Cameron is on.
He's on one.
He's
Follow My
on,
Way or one of those.
No, yeah, that's Freeze on Follow My Way. It's a disappearing one.
Okay, that's a tune.
Yeah, And then Natasha and I and Chris taking care of everything else except Rick Markman played bass on a few tunes. Jason Faulkner played on one tune. Yeah, and then that's it. You know, I mean, Chris and I kind of split up the guitar duties.
It's incredible.
We co-wrote stuff with him. So.
Yeah, it sounds like that because
Yeah.
it's too much of a change from Soundgarden
Yeah.
into that. And then I listened to, it took me years. I was like, what the fuck? How did this album come into existence? Because when it came out, I guess it wasn't so easy to know anything then. And I was in New Zealand as a teenager.
Yeah.
And it was only as I got a little bit older and I started to see you on a few things with Desert Sessions, like, hang on, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
And then I figured it out. But listening to a song like Hidden by 11, reminds me very much of Euphoria.
Well, I mean, what happened
Morning.
is that so we had met and we became friends and we had toured opening for Soundgarden for quite a few years. And so when Soundgarden broke up the first time, when they broke up back in 96 or whatever, Chris stayed with us for a little while to decompress. We started to kind of work on some stuff together, and Natasha was really amazing at arrangements, so she helped him with a bunch of tunes that he had, and then we wrote stuff like Pillow and Follow My Way and Disappearing One and Mission and a couple of other things, that were just kind of music by us and then melody lyrics by him. But we had this friendship and relationship where we just kind of like locked ourselves up in the house for 7 months and then
7 months?
Yeah. But 7 months wasn't like, because it was no pressure and because no one was supposed to know that it was happening, because he was supposed to work with Daniel Lanois and then Lanois kind of canceled on a couple of days before.
Okay.
And then Natasha goes, well, Chris is like, what are we going to do now? What am I going to do now? She's like, well, we got the gear here, because he had invited Al Cafaro, the president of A&M at the time, to come over specifically to hear our stuff, and then Al just offered us a record deal. And then when he offered us the record deal, it was like $200,000, which is, back then is a, decent, small, medium, whatever.
Wow.
So we went into the office and said to him, that $200,000, I think you should kind of give it to us as a PO to this music store so we can buy the studio. And then that way we could just do it ourselves because we can, and because every time we work with other people, it doesn't always come out the way we would like it to. And then he kind of thought about it for a second. He goes, I like it. It's crazy. We've never done it before. We usually rather rent something for $10,000 that costs $2,000. And so it's like Avant-Garde Dog was recorded before Euphoria Morning.
Okay.
And it came out after because once we finished Euphoria Morning, they asked us, hey, listen, wait, can you guys focus on Chris's band, go out there and tour, and then we'll put out your record after. Okay.
So it was all through the same label?
A&M, yeah.
Right.
So then we finished the Euphoria Morning tour. It was incredible. They're about to
How long did you tour? Was that tour for?
It wasn't super long. What was it, like a year? A little over
all
a year?
around the world?
Yeah, we got to...
I don't think you made it to New Zealand.
We didn't make it to New Zealand or Japan or South America. We did Europe, and I should check. I found the tour book the other day.
Wow.
Did America. And it was, just incredible. It's an incredible thing to be a part of. It's one of my favorite experiences ever. It's like this, weird, almost like siblings, the three of us in a way, this connection. Yeah, and so we waited till after the Euphoria Morning tour cycle, and then suddenly A&M disappeared overnight and got folded into Interscope.
Right.
And then we had to wait to be released, and then they didn't do a good job at all, and so that's why we did Howling Book on our own, even though it's just. But we got to meet and tour with Queens because they had just put out a Rated R.
So 11 toured with Queens of the Stone Age?
Yeah, for the Rated R tour. Just the very beginnings of it, like up and down the West Coast. But Josh had seen us at Matt Cameron's wedding because we did Ave Maria. And he remembered
with Chris.
us be looking. Yeah, we did. But it was just the two of us, Natasha and I. Her on the piano or organ, I can't remember. And he saw us. He goes, "Those people are weird. I like them." And so we toured together, and that's how we became already friends. And then he invited us to Desert Sessions, and first he invited me to engineer and mix the B-sides for that record, which we did at Sound City. and then desert sessions. And next thing you know, we're in, kind of around the members. We're members, but we're kind of like additional, or whatever. Like playing, piccolo, flute, ebo, keys, whatever.
That's on Lullabies to Paralyze.
That's before. That's on Death. I'm the Mexican DJ. Natasha I wrote Hanging Tree.
I knew that.
During the thing, during desert sessions.
Yes, and Natasha's on there.
And and I played like the flutes and No One Knows, and theremin, ebo stuff. Natasha did keys, and it was an incredible thing. And then the natural extension, when after Nick was gone, then Josh called me and Natasha, and we had 3 days of rehearsal, or 2, and I never played bass on stage before. And
you were fine, I'm sure.
I was nervous wreck, and then Nick was on the plane on the way to Stubbs Barbecue, and to see us play, and he was side of stage. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. He goes, man, thank God it was you.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah. So, so that that's it's all kind of. The kind of sad and upsetting things turn into good things in the future, which is weird. Because imagine, like, with a record that's absolutely just thrown out there without any push. 11 was never released overseas anyway. Like, all the labels completely just, even though there were passionate people within the labels, just bad luck of having certain people in labels not get it, because they're always confused. It's too alternative for rock, it's too rock for alternative, there's 2 singers, it's a guy and a girl, but it's not Captain and Tennille, and it's like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's got a little bit of R&B in it, but it's also progressive, but it's really more alternative. And I was like, shut up, and just, like, let us connect to our fans, which is, I mean, everyone just has potential fans. It's like, but at least give it some kind of let it be. I mean, I imagine, like, we were such a shoe-in to be like a band that would be heard in Europe. I mean, and people are waking up to the music now through YouTube, and
The albums, I feel like on Spotify there's only Howling Book. Is that right? The other ones aren't up?
Yeah, I mean, depends where you are. Now, because I own Howling Book, it can be wherever it wants to be. But A&M owns, Interscope owns Avant Garde Dog. Hollywood owns.
Why don't they put them out? Is there a way to get them to just?
I've been trying to get them to give me the rights back, but it's really difficult to deal with lawyers. And
oh my God!
They keep talking about all the money that are still owed. I'm like, are you kidding? They print 25,000 copies, they sell out straight away. There was a period of time where, before Spotify and all that, where people were buying CDs on eBay for a lot of money,
right? Because
they really wanted them, and I would try to intercept that process. So that I felt bad they would have to spend $200 on a CD. So I tried to find them via email and just go, hey, I can burn you one, and I get a printer. So we were spending like a couple $100 in postage every month and sending CDs out to people, because we had run out ourselves. But I would make these, like, good quality CD burn, and then this artwork that was just kind of printed on
that's
fancy
so cool.
paper, and then put it in the thing, and like, there you go, your little own very bootleg. Just make sure you give it to everybody so our music can finally be heard. So.
And then into Queens of the Stone Age for
and then in Queens,
quite a few years.
Yeah, and then did Air Vulgaris, which I engineered and mixed and was playing on. Then Natasha got sick, she got diagnosed, and we actually had started recording a new 11 record. So we
I saw that, and then
we had like five tracks that are just instrumental. Basic tracks. It has everything in it. Maybe it needed a couple of dubs and a vocal and lyric. Obviously, it was about to come as it was a process. We hadn't written that yet.
Yeah, of course.
And so I've been sitting on that because it feels really strange for me to finish it with Natasha. And then for a while I thought maybe invite, Chris and Josh and Polly and Mark and invite, people to, like, finish them, imagining what would be really nice, but that didn't pan out. So I'm gonna have to try to, like, maybe even just put it out as, like, instrumental tracks, because they have a good vibe and they hold up well.
So 11 didn't really get to finish what it wanted to do.
No, I mean, Natasha's getting sick and passing was in a way, I kind of, besides the obvious, but it's kind of hard to explain what it means to lose someone a quarter century with, but also a person you spent, your best friend, the biggest influence and genius musician you've ever met, and then somebody that I dreamed I was going to meet her, and then I met her, and then we had this whole crazy like intense thing,
wow.
and then suddenly she's gone, and I think Josh was one of the first to really spot that and get me busy, like Arctic Monkeys, and then Vultures. He just just needed me to, and then during Vultures is when I wrote the seedlings for Spark, and then when I had those few days off in that December 2009 into 10 on the tour, I actually recorded the record, and then I had it done.
So those songs, that was your write it in the morning, have it done by the afternoon kind of?
Well, no, there was a little window, but also because that record is
it's very concise. It sounds like one moment.
It's like 4 days, and I had the cigar box guitar with me because it was small enough to travel with, and I started to write it started to appear on that, most of it. Obviously Bleeding Hole and Make God Jealous have other instruments in there. But there was something about the directness of communicating on that, and it also had this kind of like melancholic feeling, and it could be explosive, it could be tender, like if you really dig into the instrument, like a flamenco technique, it sounds really, could be like a market and Moroccan market or Andalusia or South America. But I think I didn't start to get it, to heal or begin the process until I had to communicate that record. Like thank you to Natasha, like a eulogy, requiem, love letter, whatever.
Yeah, of course, that's what it is.
Yeah, and from then I started to kind of get my bearings, and I just immersed myself in work. My mom had moved in with me to be there towards the end, for Natasha and then she got sick again, and then I took care of her for 6 years. So I was living in the house, and then my sister would take care of her sometimes too, and I was kind of her nurse, and while producing bands, and then when she was okay, she would cook for the bands, and like everyone loved her. It was really funny. And then that's why I think like now that I'm out of that and I'm just kind of floating around the world. I just spent 3 weeks in Lisbon with Dead Combo, and I love that. And I'm going to South America now for 5 weeks before we go back on the Poly tour. And because I have,
you've got a film, a documentary coming out. It's just about to come out.
Well, it's shown in Chile
they
several
times. They showed it in
times.
October, is that right? They
were showing it again in Chile, and then I think they're showing it in Barcelona one time. And they're looking for distribution because. It's not in Spanish, but the thing is, like, a lot of people are in there. Chris is in there.
Yeah, I watched the trailer
Josh
for
is
it.
in there. I can send you a private link.
I would love to watch it.
Just don't.
No, of course.
Because obviously, but they, it's not. It's gonna have to build, make its own legs and build its way. Because I'm not a household name, and what the attraction might be. But when you see it, you realize there's a universal component there that I think is very interesting. Yeah.
I really want to see it.
I'll send it to you.
I would love to see it.
And I think it might help with this.
Yes, of course.
In here.
Are you wanting to become more of a household name? Has that ever been an ambition of yours? To be more famous?
I never wanted. I never thought about it in those terms. I just. How do I put this? I want to communicate to as many people as possible, and obviously that means becoming known. But I've never behaved in whatever ways it takes to maximize the possibility of becoming more famous. If does it makes any sense at all? Like networking or things like that. Just like I feel like the music should speak for itself, and it doesn't need any. Which is kind of weird. It's like I don't really have a persona besides myself. I'm me, and I play music and I make records. But I love being on stage, and I've played for not as myself, but actually when I opened up for Queens in Europe, I was playing for like 5,000 people in a tent, and that's pretty cool. But they were at a festival, If I can manage a small club or theater on my own, would be really fantastic. But that's what I want to try to work on. Focus on next year is just running around and playing. And I've been doing a lot in South America and Chile.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Yeah, and just building it up, I just need to be available for that. I mean, I spent so many years, 11 months in the studio, and every once in a while going on a tour.
Okay.
Whether it was with Chris in South America or opening for Queens in South America when I get invited and stuff, And then the Poly thing has been amazing because we did the record together and then we've been touring,
Which record is that one?
The Hope 6.
Okay, so that was what, you and her and who else?
It was 11 of us making the record and there's 10 of us touring it.
Okay.
So it's Mick Harvey, John Parrish, James Johnston, Terry Edwards from Gallon Drunk, Enrico, Gabriele Alessandro Stefana from Mondo Cane, and they would have their own projects in Italy.
Right. I need to. I haven't heard that one.
Jean-Marc Bouty played drums with her Polly many times. Kenrick Rowe from Oswald.
Okay.
Polly and me, and then Mike Smith from Gorillaz, and several other things was also on the record, but he couldn't tour because he's busy with Damon.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
And that's been a worldwide tour.
Yeah, and we headlined Rock on Seine just now. It was insane. If you can look up, like Glastonbury's up. I think Rock on Seine might be up. There's a Lyon show that's up. That's pretty good too. I mean, obviously seeing it, was amazing. So I don't know if you can get down to Mexico for Corona Festival. November.
Oh yeah, I like Corona Festival.
Yeah.
That's a good one. We played that last year.
Yeah. So
it's wild. Mm. Do you have a sort of ethic, like a musical ethic as an artist of what things that you need to work with need to be, or in terms of your own music, does it need to have a sound? Does it need to come from a particular emotion or place? I mean, it always varies on the song in terms of what the presentation is going to be, and it just kind of dictates itself in the sense that I'm kind of like, I sense as I'm doing it, or it kind of like comes intuitively. I don't think, I want this to do this, or it'd be cool if it sounded like that, referencing something else, Mm-hmm. So like the part or the sound almost tells you, like it comes as a whole thing. It's not that it's just a jazz master with a vibrato bar, but it also is this particular delay with this particular reverb with this particular or you know what I mean. It's kind of hard to describe it. It's kind of, I hear it in my head as a thing that's finished, and then I have to reverse detective it to figure out what that sound is, and it kind of appears as I'm listening to the raw bones of something. It kind of appears like almost like I hear it, but I don't hear it with my ears. It's inside, so I need to try to figure out how to get it out. And in terms of like, obviously, like it has to communicate and has to communicate to me. I have to like, in the sense that I have to hear it as if I was a fan of it. Yes.
Like I didn't do it. It's just there. And the second, like, so when I mix or record, like when it washes over me, like I'm listening to a piece of music, and nothing is pointing at me that it needs to be kind of sculpted a little bit further or tucked in or whatever. Then, when I enjoy I'm working on a mix and I can listen to it like 2 or 3 times in a row, just listening to it as enjoying it.
Yes, without
knowing.
And
then we know, and then you know it's done. I mean, you could infinitely continue to tweak on things and change this and that and the other, but at some point I'm always very wary of letting thinking have a say, or too much of a say,
That's good.
Because then you end up you make this maze that has no exit, and then you put yourself inside.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah,
that's a nightmare.
But and I think that's just only because I've been fucking doing it so long, And
you feel like you're getting better all the time, obviously.
I do, yeah. Which is, I mean, better. Some people might say, "No, man, your good shit was in the '80s." Well, because emotionally they had resonated with them then. But to me, I feel like, it takes a long time to strip away a lot of the adverse conditions around your relationship with being creative, whether it's yourself or how you interface with the world or the business side of it,
Yeah.
And so I think that's why, a lot of people have become more autonomous than they used to be, because it's that drive to not allow people to fuck with it. Because if you're 100% responsible, then in a way it's really good, because if then you turn around and you go, well, I could have done better. Then you know why. Not because there was 30 business people, everyone having a say, or all this other shit,
I guess, I never really lived. I mean, I didn't have any music at that level at that time, 20 years ago when that was going on. I imagine it must have been a bit of a nightmare.
I mean, it could be a nightmare, and it could be great. And people
of course,
were really lucky, but it was luck,
It does seem to me that's the case, yeah.
And then sometimes, if you're really, I dare say, that if you're really onto something, sometimes you're just a little bit ahead of it, or behind it, or it's just not for that time. And so it takes a while, and then people realize, and then they're like, oh my God, this is So that's what I like. That's another thing, getting back to the thing. What I'm hoping for is this timeless quality, so that I can put it on in 20 years and it doesn't.
I completely agree. Yeah, that's what it all should be.
Yeah, and it should, and it doesn't. It's not really, that timeless quality is not dependent on even the production or the sound. I mean, you can put on some 80s records and you go, well, there's that reverb that everyone put on the snare back then, and there's the kind of metallic, and then there's the massive amount of mid-range missing, and it's all zzz. But this amazing song, and then you put it on now, and it's just wow, it could be today,
Yeah, it's tough to not make things sound like now, because we have new technology, and it's and why shouldn't you? It's now.
Yeah, it's now. I mean, but the funny thing is that, like a white T-shirt, jeans, and a leather jacket, that always work.
Always looks cool.
So if you record everything kind of dry, with a bit of compression, and there's not much, and it's just kind of there, left, guitar here, guitar, whatever, then it kind of sounds timeless in a funny way, isn't it? The way it works.
So you just did the Ghost Recon soundtrack. Tell me a little about that.
That was amazing fun. Well, so Manu and Gislan, they're involved, the audio producer and musical director, and they reached out to me quite a bit before they actually came out. So that we worked on a theme together with visuals.
Okay.
So that they could kind of show that I could do it. And then they came out for 8 days, and we ended up doing 6 hours of music.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you got a band together. That was with Joey.
Yeah. It was first. It was just me. So we at the 11 a.m. at my old place, set up all this stuff around me, screens everywhere. And I would kind of improvise to picture. The idea was kind of like a Jim Jarmusch Dead Man with Neil Young, just kind of playing.
Yes, of course, that's right.
And so that, and then got the thematic going, then overdub percussion, and maybe a click, blah blah blah. And then we moved to the bigger studio, and I got Nick on bass, Oliver, Joey Castillo on drums, and Norm Block that played drums with Sweethead. You might have met Norm around the desert. He's always around.
Okay, no, I don't know if I
have. And so because two drummers, bass and guitars, and so they'd play me Manu and Gislan would play me a little bit of a reference idea of what the atmosphere they were looking for, and I would literally just kind of sit down for a couple of minutes and come up with a basic riff idea, go in there, show the dudes, and we all got each other going, and then we started to rolling record, and then just Manu and Gislan the headphones, and we found the vibe. Recorded for a few minutes of that, got it going.
And just did that on repeat?
Well, different tempos, different keys.
Yeah, but just that kind of process.
Yeah, that kind of process, and just jamming on it, and then I would do a layer. Once we had nailed the atmosphere, I would do a layer or two of overdubs to kind of spontaneously create arrangements or markers, And then we moved on to the next thing, and so that's how we ended up with 8 days total doing I think 6 hours of music that's in the game, and maybe we had 9 hours total that was amount of recorded stuff. Yeah, it's a lot. And then I did some more pickup stuff, and the whole process was pretty incredible.
That sounds kind of painless.
Yeah, it was considering that Because the way it's an open world, so what happens is if you decide not to go fight, you can go walk up into the woods and then go through the stream and whatever, and that triggers certain kind of music to appear. And then as you shift, it triggers.
You played the game yourself?
I played a little bit of it, but Miles, my nephew, he plays it. It's a little bit beyond my skill level at the moment. I would have to. Last time I played a
Super Mario Europe.
No. I actually ended up doing like sort of fantasy and Myst and a couple of other stuff.
I never got into those ones.
2000
too deep.
2007 or 8 is my and obviously like the chops required now are.
That's I can't keep up anymore.
Yeah, and just your perception. It's like how can you have this perception that it's such like whoa, stuff's like whoa. But it's a really, for me, it was kind of a dream come true because it was so cinematic that I pictured myself like scoring, like really, really, really awesome long movie. So and it's the same kind of muscles in a way. So,
are you looking to do that?
I would love to do that. I think because of the nature of what I am, it would have to be like a cool indie director that because I'm really good with. I'm not a one-trick pony. Like I can do, kind of, have a go at whatever they throw at me.
I believe it.
So it's like a synth thing, or we need like a Balinese, or it's kind of flamenco, South America, whatever. I'll have a go and find something that is communicative in that particular form.
So you can always pluck music out of the sky, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sitting there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really struggle with it myself either, but I don't know if everyone can. I feel like you can do it more than most, though.
Well, it's maybe just I guess maybe sometimes I think, like, is it just because I'm really, I just trust, and it's like a self-hypnosis? If you kind of expect it to be there, then, I mean, of course, there's been moments where I just don't, I don't engage with music. But it's not because I want to engage with music and it doesn't appear. It's because I'm just somewhere else, Mm-hmm. But any time that it's almost like a kind of sense when the right time is. Almost like having a hunger pang or something,
It's music time.
It's like, oh man, I need a sandwich. It's almost like that. It's kind of a pang somewhere else where it just like,
I think
the tummy gurgles. Oh, when you're sitting there, you just absolutely must, and something just like, but like the one thing I wish I could still do, was none of us have been able to, is that fucking amazing song you wrote in your dreams that you try to hold on to as you wake up.
Yeah.
Have you managed to ever grab anything from that?
Yes, I can grab maybe a quarter of it.
That's amazing.
I can never grab all of it, but
Yeah.
I think I can't remember who I was saying it to. I liken it to, once you wake up, the song is a bubble.
Yeah.
And anything can pop it, so you've got to be as gentle as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So I'll grab the guitar, and even just to find the tonic note of the song,
of the thing,
I've got to not hit, I've got to be like, ooh,
Yeah,
and then finally
yeah.
get it, because if I hit a wrong one, the bubble bursts and the song's gone. But I had a bass line this morning, and then I woke up, and I was about to get it, and then my alarm went off, and then the melody of the alarm, lost it. I was so annoyed, and it was a great bass line as well.
Yeah, that happens to me sometimes when I'm walking and I start hearing like a song in my head, and all I have is my voice, right? But
You've got a good enough voice to get the...
Yeah, I mean, I can do it, but then sometimes like the tension, the melody against what, was a harmonic implication of the
really
thing.
difficult.
And so I try to like, and I'm not Bobby McFerrin, so I'm like, da da, ooh, da 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 da. No, ba, ma, bo, ma, da, boo, boo, boo. And so I have a bunch of those. But then when you listen to them back, because they're on perfect pitch, it's like, what the hell is like a, boo, 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 boo. Like, how the hell am I supposed to remember what that is? Anyway, so I've actually never been able to extract that particular thing. If I have my cigar box with me, no problem. But otherwise, it's just like, it's pointless. I sound like a really drunk, shitty, Bobby McFerrin's shitty drunk cousin.
Yeah, I've got iTunes just so full of those ideas. Is there a point where you can sort of retire? Do you think where it would be done, where you could go, I've done enough now?
Yeah, I don't think that'll come because it's kind of the only thing keeping me going. In a sense, is not the only thing, but it's kind of like I feel is my purpose. You know, especially with this feeling I have, which I was going to mention earlier, like I have to keep Natasha's and I's legacy going. You know, in the sense that, you know, she almost folded into me like there's things. There's ways of making music or approaches or certain talents that she had. Hey, you guys are gonna be in the interview. You guys are certain talents that she had which were interlocking with mine. So, you know, it was more improvisational, a little bit nuttier, and she was more can compose perfectly and didn't need an instrument to compose. Just a perfect pitch, all in her head.
Wow.
Perfectly clear. You could sit on the piano, she'd tell you the notes you sat on, you know. Hear a piece of music once, no matter how complex, and remember what everybody played or what they...
Yikes, okay.
That level.
She was at that level. That makes sense.
Well, I didn't get all that, but
so now
but I got the fact like on like in Unfinished Plan, there's the 3-part Russian choir comes in, a 4-part, and she would have just said, give me a track, give me another track, give me another track, give me another track, instead of sitting there and working it out. And I would have to sit in the guitar and get like, okay, so this is that's it, yeah, and then go. That used to be, and now more often I find myself, I just kind of close my eyes, and it's almost like she's like, okay, let me just move over to the passenger side for a second, let me drive. It almost feels like that. She comes in, and obviously I mean that as a very metaphoric, romantic idea, as opposed to like a factual being possessed by Natasha. But it feels like that, like, wow, okay, and then it happens, and it's like, wow, cool, and it's done. Like,
wow.
It's a good thing I didn't have to sweat that bit. You know? Yeah.
So there's an obligation to kind of keep the memory alive, I guess, or more so.
Well, yeah, just to like, you know, I think you know, you want to, if you're born with that certain need to communicate your particular
just the way you see
expression,
the way you see the world,
the way you see the world through music, and it can be assistive to others and bring them joy. You guys are such little. Look at that face.
They're too cute, though.
Yeah. Then that's why I don't think I'll ever feel like, okay, I'm done. I mean, I guess it's just going to be, you know, my body giving up is going to be the only thing that stops me. Because even if I'm, you know, hopefully live more time so that I can do more stuff, but.
So there's plenty more you've still got to do. Yeah,
I have that feeling. It's not like a nervous, like, oh shit, we gotta get this done kind of thing, but it's you know, like I know it's time to do another solo record.
Okay.
And so I'm taking a little rig with me. I might start it in South America in the little Airbnb, but certainly when I get back, you know, and I'm already starting to picture it in my mind, sort of picture it, or, you know, it's like this.
What's it going to be this time?
It's one of two things. Really simply, a ribbon mic and me just playing and singing, both into the same mic, without trying to be too like, you know, Time Live presents, so musical third. And the other thing is like just something along the lines of the way that first early 70s Stevie's records felt.
Okay.
The way that he sat down on the drums first and he had the song in his head, and then the Moog bass and the clavinet are improvising all the way through. So
with those instruments?
Not necessarily those instruments, but that feeling, you know, that feeling where no bar is the same as another bar. Nothing ever, it's always kind of just flowing, and it feels like it's just everyone's, you know, like it's just a jam, but it's a song, you know. There's a beautiful, that feeling, if I could somehow get that, would be fantastic. And
jamming with yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's fragments. There's just moments like that, but you know, something a little bit more free and less structured somehow. This is I keep picturing it, and I also feel that there's going to be a bit of darkness showing up. You know, like anger, darkness.
Well, has it always been a kind of form of writing your diary for you? doing music to get, you know, do you have therapy? Is this your therapy in a way?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, but obviously Spark and Fragments are much more personal, and with 11 stuff, our lyrics would be very much, sometimes a little bit on the nerdy side, almost like a search for meaning, whether it's through references to quantum physics or mythology or you know, like feel good messages of like, you know, connection and, you know, you're not alone, or like learning to be, and, you know, all this other stuff, which is not particularly hip, but it was kind of what we were, you know. But then there was very poetic moments, especially as it evolved. But I think I've had like a anxiety disorder all my life, you know.
Okay.
So I had like 2 or 3 breakdowns in my life, and Natasha had a bit of anxiety disorder too. I think it's pretty normal for most sensitive musician people to know what that is.
Absolutely.
And what happens is it makes you want to search for answers or some kind of a padding that you can lay your head on to make it less of a constant struggle, looking around the world and going, you know, I remember the first memory was just like, I don't understand. It's like, you know, so much suffering everywhere, and it doesn't need to be. Why isn't, if people only did this instead of that, or, you know, which is really weird for a young kid. Like, so it's a rub between the world in your mind that as you see ideally and what's actually there. So that kind of tension creates this anxiety, at least for me it did. And so lyrically, those 11 records were very much about, you know, searching for stuff without ever really finding it, you know, like which is really a bummer. But I've had these bookcases. I gave them all away, but I had a bookcase for like 1,000 books that I'd read, you know, from all the philosophy that I could find, mythology, reincarnation, quantum physics, New Age stuff, LSD, you know, whatever, like just explorations. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end of reading all that, if I was looking for the 1%, so 51 to 49%, just a little bit of an edge that there's more to this than just a chemical accident, and, you know.
Where do you sit now? What do you think?
I mean, I think I'm still right there with it. You know, I've let go of needing to know. It's like I'm
that's
not,
a huge part of it, I think,
yeah.
the letting go.
Yeah, I'm not as scared on planes, and I don't, you know, it's just like I don't constantly think about it anymore. I've kind of just resigned myself, almost like, you know, like in the Castaneda books is like, which, you know, people argue didn't really happen exactly like that now, but it's like the warrior's way, whatever, is like you experience your own death when, you know, when you're a teenager. Males and females, I think 13 is the magic number or whatever. So that's the ritual, right? And then you're already dead, so now you can just go ahead and relax and live. I don't know what kind of ritual it is to make you feel like you died, but it sounds like a bummer. But you know what I mean? It's like that.
So you're happy?
Yeah, I guess I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy and sad. That's it. It's basically, I've, you know, like in the lyric "and you're not alone," we say embrace it all or lose the world. It's just basically at some point you just have to accept all of it. It doesn't mean, you know, be a pushover, but you just kind of have to be, I mean, something that happens is the chasing happiness thing, as if it's a place you
got to
actually arrive to.
Acquire it.
Yeah, as you get there, you find out, oh, here, I'm Happy Land.
You made it.
Really, and like you think
Took
you should hold it more than 5 minutes, you know? So it really is about, you know, and I think art helps you explore that. It helps you explore all the facets of existence, so that you can integrate it, and maybe within that integration comes, you know, a certain kind of peace or stillness, because peace almost implies, I mean, you could like, that's why sometimes I think like people like meditating, God bless them, I don't mean that as a joke, meditating up in the hills in Himalaya, like where there's no sound and nothing, you know, that's really cool, but try doing that in the middle of New York traffic hour.
Yeah,
it's almost like that you're cheating a little bit there.
That's one of the Buddhist proverbs. I saw something about the guy who went and achieved enlightenment up on the hill, and as he came back down to the city, someone threw a pebble at his head, and it hit him in the head, and he forgot everything and got angry.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's a finding stillness. It's like I guess so. I guess in that sense, I suppose I kind of would lean towards Buddhistic thinking.
What state do you think we're in on the planet at the moment? Do you think that the revolution's going to go down? What's going to happen in the United States?
Well,
are you optimistic?
I am optimistic. I'm always optimistic, but I've this is what It's hard to say because now we know as things happen, we're more aware of them than when I was a kid. And so, say in the 70s, I'm a teenager. If I actually knew everything that was going down at all times, and everybody was tweeting about it, and you could sense all the division and all that stuff. Back then, it might have seemed like it was the end of the world,
Yes.
But now we're here now, and first of all, I never expected it to go so south, as far as I'm concerned. Like if you would have told me 10, 20 years ago that this is gonna come, I would have been like, there's no way, it's never gonna, no way. But I guess you can't, who knows what forces are, this ebbing and flowing, and I mean, it's not like an upward arc, it's just human beings. Listen, you read, Greek philosophy and you see like, the sciences of 5,000 years ago, astronomy, all this. I mean, people have been smart for a long, long time.
People have been smart.
Smart,
yes,
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they kind of.
I agree.
It's insane, like okay, we didn't have all this iPhones and
but
shit.
yeah, we think because it's archaic from a different time. That people around Bible time were stupid or anything like that.
Well, since everyone's born like a complete clean slate, and whatever the brain would takes on whatever environment, and so really every generation and every life is subject to anything, whatever circumstance. So it's totally possible for like there to be so much division and ignorance and just. That's the one thing. Is just it also feels very important to be here now and conscious and try to do the most
what do the people do? What should people? What advice would you give to make the world a better place, Alan?
Well, I mean, for me it's just pretty simple. It's just like try. If you just try to be kind and loving, and the simple one is just like, okay, imagine it's you on the other side of whatever situation.
Love thy neighbor as you love yourself, of course.
Yeah, and then it's a simple one, but I think it works because nobody wants to feel anger or hate or be slighted and whatever, and also encourage people to think for themselves, and if you're falling in, the deeper you fall in line with a paradigm or some kind of ideology that divides you from other human beings, you have to question it, right? So since essentially we're all just living organisms and we're species, all of us, it's just simple. Like if you're thinking in a way that makes you feel better because someone else is worse or whatever, that's just to check that. It would seem like such a simple thing. I mean,
you have to be diligent every single day.
Yeah,
as well,
absolutely.
Don't you? It's got to be.
I mean, say for example, if you and I get attacked by a bunch of racist people that are, or just, like how do the heavier the environment or situation, the harder it is, to forgive and accept.
Of course, yes.
And one of the things that's really nerve-wracking right now for me is like, there's no dialogue. It's only arguments. It's only people insulting each other because of different viewpoints, and everyone's taking sides. Or
the left as bad as the right.
Yeah, and so everyone's just like. But there's nothing ever comes from like people screaming at each other where nobody listens to the other person or walks away with any information. All you're doing is you're just becoming the physical embodiment of a ideology. And attacking or defending against another one, and nothing really happened. It's just like a bunch of anger and stuff.
Well, Dr. King was always just love will be the thing that will overpower all.
Yeah.
In the end, it takes a long time and it's
does
difficult.
Like you said, diligence and.
But I think also we've got to stop respecting the political system a little bit, and the law. Just because it's a law doesn't mean we have to abide by it. Some of these laws are.
Well, the thing is that they're ever shifting, and they're there not for the good of the people, but they're there, and the reason why they change is because as new people come into power and things shift and the greed.
That's the biggest issue.
I mean, it's like I don't understand when it's kind of like a illness, like this pushing to get more and more and more and more, and it's at the expense of other people, and it's all over the world. And the middle class disappears. Now, there really shouldn't be any classes, but say there have to be, because even in nature there's a certain whatever. So say we're related to nature, but we've also can move away from being exactly like that. So meaning like you don't just go and murder somebody, and in nature, this would eat that, but that's like a different thing. So there's some people that argue that we have a choice. And it's just like, the corporations, you can see medical systems, pharmaceuticals, all of it is, it's pretty rampant right now.
I think it's going to topple.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it. I think that there's going to be some civil disobedience. I don't think people can take it much longer. I was at the DMV yesterday, and that place is a fucking shithole. And I just thought of how much it could be fixed. There could be really nicely run government, national institutions for everybody that make things run smoothly. But they're not.
No, and the thing is
people are going to get fed up.
Well, people are not allowed to take initiative, and everyone's scared to do anything, because within every system like that, there's going to be a couple, 2 or 3 people that are pretty smart that could just kind of go, no, let's do it like this. This is much more sensible. Never mind what that, But it's like it's just nobody wants to take put their neck out to try to improve things. And you're right. I mean, it's you can feel the tension and.
Well, even someone like Trump being elected, you can see that people are not happy, but they've just picked the demagogue who's kind of lied to them. But it shows that there's unrest.
There's unrest.
It's just a shame that education wasn't there to kind of.
Well, they had all they knew from him was just what he said, and the fact that he is charismatic.
How do you trust a guy?
I mean, he does have charisma to a certain extent. Usually, the person.
I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that he's meaning like he was a reality TV star, and then people got comfortable with him, and they kind of pictured him like just handling business and just like saying, "No, you're fired," and you're this or whatever.
Yeah.
They had no idea that he's a narcissist, sociopath.
He's the perfect person for right now, though, and I think he's
absolutely shameful.
He's the one who will cause the decline. It's like okay, it's gone this far.
Yeah.
We really need to do.
So maybe in the end, it served the purpose that was us righting ourselves and fixing it somehow. But hopefully it's not at the expense of a lot of lives. Who knows?
It usually is, but it's always leading towards something.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, it was so great to sit down with Alain. I've been a fan, like I said, for a very, very long time. He made that record with his wife, Natasha, and Chris Cornell. It's Chris Cornell's first solo record called Euphoria Morning, and that is one of my favorite albums of all time, and I was always just absolutely blown away by the orchestration and by the guitar playing on that album, and I just didn't know who had done it because it came out so long ago, and as a kid, and you had to read the liner notes before we had Wikipedia with all of the information. I was a little bit dumbfounded. I didn't know who it was. And when I did, it all started to make sense, and I put the puzzle together, and it was just such a joy to sit down with Alain. So thank you very much. If you haven't checked out his music, get his stuff. There are 2 solo records. We've got an album called Spark and an album called Fragments and Wholes Volume 1. They're both very, very great records. You can also check out his band 11. You can listen to that Chris Cornell Euphoria Morning record that I was talking about. A couple of 11 songs. There's a song called Howling Book, which Natasha sings, which is extremely haunting. I really dig that tune. There's a song by Alan called Welcome. There's a song Hanging Tree by Queens of the Stone Age. If you don't know that one, that's a really, really great one too. And also, Alan sent me a sneak peek version of the documentary that he was talking about, Unfinished Plan, The Path of Alain Johannes. If you see that anywhere, make sure you watch it. It's very illuminating and you see what a genius he is. Plenty of stuff by him. Get on board the L train, ladies and gents. Act like you got some sense. Thank you very much for tuning in. That's the end of today's podcast. I'll be back soon, I'm sure. Hope you're all well out there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. You take care. Goodbye.